You too, what it do, man? How are y'all doing, guys? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day as always, and a wonderful Tuesday to your week. Coming into today's trade recap, we are going to be breaking down how Snowski was able to profit off of shorts coming into 30-minute power of 3, as opening bell was very volatile this morning, and I know a lot of people were very conflicted with the higher time frames. So coming into today's video, we're not only going to be doing a trade recap, but we are also going to be talking and having greater emphasis on the higher time frames, specifically our fractal power of 3s. If you guys are unfamiliar with my content or who I am, my name is Snowski. I am a QT and SMC trader, SMC as in smart money concept, ICT concepts, utilizing time and price delivery and the theory of time and price. The precision and the criteria that I cover in every single one of my videos is on another level. So you guys are in for a treat today. Coming into today's video, we're going to be talking about our fractal power of 3s and the utilization of pretty much narrative and the understanding of accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. If you guys are already unfamiliar with my content, understand that today's video isn't a beginner-friendly video. If you're unfamiliar with Power of 3 or QT is, my videos are not for you. But coming into today's video, how was I able to short coming into 30-minute Power of 3? We understand as QT and SMC traders that Power of 3s being fractal and the utilizations of Power of 3s can be pretty much replicated the criteria of accumulation, manipulation, distribution on all higher time frames for narrative base and lower time frames for entry. So if you think of a basic power of 3 model, basic accumulation, manipulation, which tends to be a stop rate or a turtle soup, and then distribution, you can see easily that was how I was able to profit coming into 30-minute power of 3. But what hinted that the market was going to sell off specifically today? If you guys are unfamiliar with what QT is, QT gets very in depth, but the basis of it, such as X AMD, AMD X, X being expansion, simply a filler quarter to create 4 quarters in the understanding of time. We understand that X AMD, AMD X being fractal, just like power of 3s, and repetitive on multiple time frames, well, we need to always be constantly putting greater emphasis on, okay, what are our fractal X AMDs doing? Meaning, okay, our monthly, our weekly, our daily cycle development, and what quarter are we specifically moving in. So if you were to come into today, now all I'm going to do is actually take off my execution marks, as you guys have already seen it, Trade of a logo in the bottom left. Coming into our 1-hour chart for our weekly power of 3 development, we can see that our entire weekly development has been very accumulative. Understanding if you were to break it down in a span of our monthly power of 3 development, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pull up my week and my month. We could see that our entire monthly development being in the second week is accumulation week. Our last week expanded super aggressively over 1,000 points to the downside. Then starting accumulation week, we are only in Tuesday, so we still have 3 more days in this accumulation. But disregarding our monthly power of 3, we have to be putting emphasis specifically on our given week's power of 3. And utilizing QT is very important to understand, okay, each day's delivery. The entire point of QT is to pretty much get precision behind each day's delivery. And the whole entire function of quarter 1 that Day constantly talks about is, okay, we understand that quarter 1 being Monday of a weekly cycle is going to give us the information regarding what to expect coming into each day. So if we can see very clearly that Monday expanded aggressively to buy stops, and then we accumulated yesterday both engineered buy stops and sell stops in the market, we can see that coming into today's pretty much cycle was going to be a given manipulation cycle. Manipulation is always going to be opposing to where the draw on liquidity is for the distribution. So now you have to think, external SSMTs or external SMTs. Where does the market lack a cracking correlation to signify that manipulation's complete and where does distribution likely to draw towards. So we understand that coming into today's delivery lacked pretty much both. And what do I mean by this is, okay, high of the week. I'm sorry, I totally forgot I had all these indicators. High of the week is considered unprotected due to the lack of cracking correlations, the lack of SMT at high of the week. Manipulation pivots are always going to be confirmed by an SMT. That is something ICT has taught for a long time. SMTs confirm reversals. So if we understand that at the high of the week lacks an SMT and at the low of the week lacks SMT, we are pretty much sitting between a range. What do we want to see happen first? Is we want to see one of the stops get taken, an SMT be put in play, and prove a pivot to then initiate, well, distribution. So we have two engineered draws on price for the week. All we're simply doing is, okay, which side gets taken first? Now, obviously, there's a lot more in depth behind that of understanding which one's going to get taken first and such, but it's simply on the simplicity level of teaching you guys. We can see that, okay, once we cleared the stops of our previous day high, YM on the right have a failure swing to actually purge our previous day high, we have a bearish SMT in the market now. So this bearish cracking correlation is signifying that, okay, manipulation's complete and that we are likely to now end up distributing to an a clear unprotected stop, which is the low of the week. So coming into today, what was my bias regarding our 30-minute power of 3 is I wanted to see the weekly cycle SSMT with YM hold, which was our external SMT. And then I wanted to see an internal SMT coming into 30-minute power of 3's Judah swing to develop open high low close development. So let's break that down on how that would work. If we were to break down our 30-minute power of 3's, what we're going to be doing is actually going into replay so I can actually show you guys how I looked at this. Is coming into our 30-minute power of 3, we can see on our 1 hour chart, we already formed a bearish weekly cycle with YM. The weekly cycle being our external SMT already in play, all we necessarily need from that external SMT to be proven lower delivery is simply a lower time frame internal SMT. Now, what was this internal SMT that formed coming into market open? It is simply a QT concept. A lot of people won't understand this. ICT's spoken about it multiple times. It is a pretty much opposing desynchronization tool between the bodies, almost as a failure swing. We could see that all assets purge our previous 90-minute high. But seeing this, okay, what formed between the bodies is actually a failure closure. We can see that NASDAQ failing to close a body overlapping our previous body, and well, YM doing a higher body swing. This is what we call in QT hidden SMTs. So this hidden divergence in the market was our internal SMT on our 5-minute chart. Once that formed, coming into 30-minute power of 3, well, we can see our opening price being right here, open, manipulation high, purging the stops of our previous 90-minute high. This is our true turtle soup, slapping in a 90-minute cycle hidden SMT at the highs, which was our internal SMT, and markets started developing lower prices. So we could see that our 930 opening price, this entire Judas right here, was pretty much our bearish CISD, or if you want to call it, our pretty much structure shift. So this change in state, which I'll do right here, was simply all I was waiting for. Expecting that, okay, our external draw on liquidity for the entire day was not only the low of the day, our internal draw on liquidity for the day was not only our low of the day, but our external draw on liquidity being the low of the week, both pretty much lacking any cracking correlations to signify strong reversals. We did have a bullish SMT at the low of the day, but not fitting within narrative simply tells me it is a failure SMT. It is not a real SMT. And that is something I personally teach, but it's kind of harder to break down in simplicity level. So I'm just kind of going to push it to the side for you guys. But understanding that today was manipulation, manipulating higher, external SMT, proof manipulation pivot, you're now expecting distribution lower. Okay, we have our external SMT. We have our lower time frame internal SMT between the bodies coming into 30-minute power of 3 for 30-minute opening Judas higher. All we're waiting for is a structure shift, which I utilize changing states. Once this closure occurred, short, and you're entering wherever you think is profitable. Now, there was a market maker sell model regarding our 1 minute time frame that I did actually break down with our, let's see here, I forget where I wrote it, but there was a fractal 1 minute sell model coming into today specifically as well. Now, as I teach MMSMs and MMBMs personally in my inner circle group, I'm not going to be talking about that today on our YouTube, but what I want you guys to start doing and putting greater emphasis to is simply the simplicity of QT. And what do I mean by this is, okay, we can utilize power of threes such as smart money concepts for price delivery, but when you put QT in line with this delivery, you're gonna have a further, I guess, how do I say this, consistency of precision. And what do I mean by this is if we understand just the basis of XAMD, AMDX can be fractal and they can be utilized on all time frames, we can understand that a week's delivery, one of the days between Monday to Thursday, is gonna have a manipulation, and that manipulation will be confirmed by a cracking correlation, which was a SMT at our previous day high as YM had a failure swing. So this SMT proving the expected pivot for manipulation is telling us now we're expecting distribution lower and eventually targeting a, well, clear draw on price, and that is the low of the week. Due to the low of the week lacking any SMT is pretty much proving that that low is a clear draw on price. It's a unprotected stop. So when you use the basis of XAMD, AMDX, well, you can go day by day, not only within the daily cycles, but our higher time frame cycles, our weekly cycles, to utilize, okay, what day is doing what? If we're opening up on Monday and we're very aggressively expanding in one direction, it's pretty much the market hinting to you in QT sense that, okay, we're expanding today on our weekly cycle development. If we're expanding aggressively, well, it's hinting to you you're not pretty much expecting large retracements on Monday. You're expecting large expansions, one directional to an external or internal draw on price that may lack a, SMT, right? Because that's proving unprotected and protected stops. If you already have quarter one's going to pretty much dictate what the next quarter is going to do. So if we expanded on Monday, you're expecting coming into Tuesday's delivery, high resistance. You're expecting accumulation. You're expecting unprotected stops on both sides of the market. Why? Because, well, think of basic accumulation. If you think of power of three, manipulation and distribution are going to be clearing the accumulation stops, because accumulation, the profound definition of accumulation, is accumulating or engineering stops. Stops meaning liquidity, buy stops, sell stops. So now looking at it as, okay, we accumulated yesterday. What did we do coming into today is we manipulated those stops, clearing out, putting in SMT with high of the day. And then what did we start is we started initiating distribution. Obviously, draw was not met yet because today only being, well, now that I think about it, I said Tuesday earlier. I'm very stupid. Today is Wednesday. What am I talking about? Today is Wednesday. I think earlier in the call I said Happy Tuesday or something. Look at me. I'm stupid. All right, guys. So expecting distribution, right? This is just pretty much the simplicity of XAMD, AMDX within QT. When you utilize power of three within it, we understand, okay, power of three is going to have an opening price, which is all the way at the opening of the week, weekly opening. We manipulated above it, and now we're expected to distribute below it to the clear draw and unprotected stops. So now that you're looking at it, okay, that is as simple as you have to make it. You can make QT and smart money concepts strategic and harder, and trust me, I personally teach it like that, but that's simply just for precision behind my inner circle students, right? That's different. That's behind a paywall. In a simplicity scale, on simply me teaching you guys just basic content, use this. Use the information of, okay, AMD, XAMD. what did quarter one do, right? What did Monday do? Did we expand or accumulate? Whatever one did, it's going to tell you what the next day and the next day and the next day is going to do. So now you have a predetermined expected condition, volatility, volume scale. You have pretty much all these expected deliveries. So when you're coming into today's power of three, our 30-minute power of three, and you're expecting that your bias is shorts due to the external SMT on previous day high, proving that today's profile was manipulation. Okay, we're not going to manipulate the entire day. We're going to manipulate until we get to an external SMT proven in the market, and then we're going to initiate distribution, right? That's that turnover. That's that reverse pivot. What are you looking for? 30-minute initial Judas higher, opposing from draw on price, internal SMT to prove one's delivery pivot, entry. You can use first presented, change the state, a continuation, whatever that may be, and look how much you would have profited today, because the market sold off super aggressive, almost 400 points today, and that was textbook, and that was beautiful. For a lot of people that didn't understand it, guys, you don't have to overcomplicate things. You really don't. You don't need to overcomplicate how QT is used or how smart money concepts are used. If you just simplify it as in, okay, power of three, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. Manipulations are confirmed by SMTs. If you think of XAMD, AMDX, well, you're going to have weekly development and daily development. And you're going to have these cycles, manipulation cycles, confirmed by SMTs. But you're also going to understand what each quarter is going to do based off of what did quarter one do. So now thinking of it on a scale of, okay, let's think of a daily cycle. Our entire day's cycle, we are currently on the 15-minute chart. Okay, if we understand that quarter three manipulated, right? Because think of a daily cycle. You have Asia, London, AM, PM. If we confirmed the manipulation by the pretty much external SMT with previous day high coming into morning open, which is quarter three, New York AM, that is telling you that quarter one expanded, quarter two accumulated, quarter three manipulated, and then initiated distribution into quarter four. You see that? X, A, M, D. Manipulation confirmed by the SMT with our previous day high. That is simplicity. You do not need to overcomplicate things. That is as simple as it gets. So now understanding this, you guys can come into every single day, use this information on a simplicity scale of, okay, 30-minute power of three is likely to open and manipulate. Once that manipulation is confirmed by an internal SMT, we need to be putting emphasis to our higher time frames. Is our daily cycle confirmed? Is our daily manipulation confirmed by an external SMT? If we have external and internal SMTs on our manipulation quarters, you can expect large volume during the distribution, and that's where you want to participate your positions, either continuations or the high. Either or, it all takes time to be learned, but I love the way that I trade. It's awesome, and it's simple. Even though you can strategically get it, a lot more difficult, you don't have to. All right, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are already coming into the end of this video and you guys aren't already part of my 100% free Discord server, Collectors Club, that link will be in the description. I hope you guys can join that up and find some value within all of my free content. But gonna be ending this up. I will see you guys probably tomorrow with an additional trade recap. And as always, I'll see you guys at the top. Peace.